Here it is, Saturday afternoon, another one of those sort of gray days. And I thought, I'll wear orange today, kind of bright, give you a little color. And I'm going to change my scenery, my background. Of course, you see at the top of my head, it looked like I'm almost bald, but that's the way the light's hitting my hair. I'm in the lobby. We have two seating areas, two rooms in the lobby where residents gather quite often. And I thought, I think I'll just use that for my background today. You see the pretty little Japanese, I think that's a Japanese maple tree. They don't get very big, but they're awfully pretty when they're in full bloom. I think this is what you call blooms. It's just the color of the leaves. So, of course, their couch is almost the same color as mine in the video, except mine is yellow and theirs is white. It just shows up the same color. So that's my description. I'm real good at describing things, And I thought, well, let's see. Not sure what I'm going to talk about. Came down, checked my mail, and I closed the door so nobody would interrupt us. I was looking at some of my shoes. You can get too many pairs of shoes. It's time to let go. I used to have as many as 50 pairs of shoes. I can remember when I had a pair of flip-flop shoes that I wore around the house. I had a pair of loafers that I wore when I went out in my everyday clothes, and I had my Sunday high heel shoes, 3 pairs of shoes. That's what I wore for years. And all of a sudden, I've got 50 pairs of shoes. Well, I can explain that too. My son-in-law at the time, this was son-in-law number 2, he owned a shoe repair shop. And he would get in boxes of shoes from Bloomingdale's, Macy's, New York, and they'd have maybe a little flaw, maybe a stitch was off, or they just didn't sell in the store, overstocked, that sort of thing. So you could get shoes at his shop, really top name brand shoes. For instance, the ones I like best were Cole Haan. They fit my feet perfectly. So those were the shoes I wore. So every little bit I'd go in the shop and I'd find a new pair of shoes I really liked. Well, he didn't charge me for my shoes. So I still have a few of those shoes because there's some you just can't let go of. Now, what this is leading to actually has nothing to do with my collection of shoes. It has to do with a condition that I have had, and I'd say a lot of you have had the same problem. It's called plantar fasciitis. Recognize the name? That's what it is. It's foot problems. They hurt. When you get it, you don't have to do anything to get it all of a sudden. It's just there, and it's all you can do to walk because it hurts so bad. It's in the heel, down into the arch. I've had plantar fasciitis several times, but it's been years ago. I would get it, might last 3 months, might last 6 months. I've had it for as long as a year or a year and a half. You just live with it. Oh, the doctor sends you to the best shoe shops, the special shoes. These are the shoes you need to wear when you have plantar fasciitis. Well, I can tell you this from experience. It might work for some people, but what I have found in buying those special shoes is you're paying an extra $100 for them, and they don't work. Didn't work for me, but I don't want to put the makers of the special plantar fasciitis shoes, I don't want to make them angry. Most of these shoes are tennis shoes. Now, the first time I bought a pair of shoes, I went in a shoe shop and I said, I need shoes for plantar fasciitis. I want the best walking shoe you have. Well, at the time, he handed me a pair of Adidas. Adidas were very popular. Now, this has been about 30 years ago. So, I bought the Adidas. I wore the Adidas. They didn't do a thing for me, but I've still got the shoes. Somehow or other, you just hang on to a pair of shoes like that, even though you didn't wear them but a few times. You keep thinking one of these days you're gonna wear those shoes. I've still got them. Now I want to talk about the plantar fasciitis though. Some of you who are familiar with it know exactly what I'm talking about. You know the doctors will tell you to get these special shoes. I'm afraid I'm going to disagree with the doctor's recommendation because they never did a thing for me. They tell you the exercises to do for your feet. They're all different kinds, you know. The way you stand on the edge of a curb and you let your arches bend over the edge of the curb, and that's sort of an exercise for your feet. That's supposed to help. You get down on the floor, you sit on the couch, you've got all different kinds of things you do exercising your feet. They never worked for me. I took 2 trips to England when I had plantar fasciitis. What a time to go on vacation. What a time to explore England when all you're going to be doing is walking, walking, walking. But I wasn't going to let it stop me. The feet hurt whether I was walking or not. I might as well see England. Let the feet hurt. Every now and then I could stop and rest and let the pain go away. Sometimes it was worse than other times, but plantar fasciitis has its own schedule. This is something I learned, and I'm wondering if the same thing didn't happen to you when you had it. When you get up in the morning, you slide out of bed and your feet touch the floor and oh, it is so painful in your heels. You hobble to the bathroom. It's all you can do to get to the bathroom. It hurts so bad. But the more you walk, the pain lets up. And it's not quite so bad, but it doesn't completely go away. No, day or night, it does not go away. You just live with it. And you do those little exercises now and then, but forget the Adidas shoes. It doesn't matter what kind of shoes I was wearing. The feet still hurt. Now, the strange thing that happened each time that I had a spell, this is how it worked. Wake up in the morning, slid out of bed, put my feet on the floor, walked to the bathroom, took care of my business in the bathroom, went to the kitchen, fixed me something to eat, and a few hours later, it hit me. My feet don't hurt. It hadn't even entered my mind when I slid out of bed expecting the same morning pain that I'd been having for weeks and months. I just got out of bed, walked to the bathroom, kitchen, did my things, as any normal person would do. And to think that plantar fasciitis didn't enter my mind. My feet, I wasn't thinking about my feet. I was just doing this, doing that, thinking where I was going today and what I was going to do. And then boom, my feet don't hurt. Just like that. That's how it happened. Not another pain. Nothing. No exercising, no medication, no rub downs, nothing. It was gone. It's been gone now for about 25 years. Haven't had plantar fasciitis in 25 years. And please keep your fingers crossed. Don't let me be eating my words, because you know what happens as soon as you say that, you get it. So this is for you people who may be new to plantar fasciitis. The fasciitis is spelled Fasciitis, fasciitis. A lot of people don't know how to spell it and don't know how to pronounce it. But I thought you might appreciate this little lesson on my medical knowledge. And you get this knowledge from experience. Experience. Can you believe that you can live with something for weeks and months, and the pain every step you take, every time you get up out of a chair, put your feet on the floor, ooh, it hurts. You're fine as long as you're sitting. There's no pain until you put your feet on the floor. That's when you have the pain. Slip out of bed, put my feet on the floor, go to the bathroom, do my daily things, and my feet didn't hurt. They haven't hurt since. Explain it. Maybe you can, but I can't. And the doctor hasn't been able to explain it to me either. Those fancy $300 shoes didn't do anything for me. Maybe they'll help you, but they didn't work for me. It didn't matter what kind of shoe I wore. But the one thing I did realize, that you needed a little height in the heel of the shoe. You know how you have the, I'm trying to think what kind of shoe it is we always wore. But anyway, your heel needs to be at least an inch high. It made a difference in how your feet felt, how much pain you had to tolerate. So, that is my story for today. And if you have plantar fasciitis, don't expect a pair of shoes to heal it for you. And I hate to say it to the doctors, but your remedies don't work either. Plantar fasciitis has a mind of its own. It comes one day. You think you've stumped your toe. You think you've set your foot down hard on the sidewalk and caused a bruise. You cannot lay it on any specific motion, movement, and get any satisfaction from that. There is nothing that will tell you how you got plantar fasciitis. It's just there. And it's going to stay until it's ready to go away. Just be patient. And one day, you'll climb out of the bed and you'll say, oh, praise the Lord, my heels don't hurt. So, while I sit here in this big room, it's a nice room. It's a gathering room. We used to come here, and once a week, we would come on Thursday afternoon, and residents would gather. At that time, there were quite a few elderly people living here. People living alone, people lonely. This was a once a week gathering where they could come, bring a little snacks, some cookies, some little sandwiches, all sorts of things they would bring. And we would sit around and talk. And that's when I started my storytelling. Some of these people were well educated, professors, musicians, attorneys, doctors, but their careers were behind them. But they had good stories to tell. And then there was me with my down-home storytelling. But the residents seemed to enjoy my stories. And each week, they got to where they would say, Pat, do you have a story for us today? And I'd say, well, what kind of story do you want? It didn't matter to them. But I usually came up with something with a little humor in it. And they kind of got to where they looked forward to hearing my stories. My life was a little different to theirs. I was called the small town girl. I always said when they would ask where I was from, in Appalachia, I would say, from a town at the foot of the hills. We were at the foot of the mountains in Appalachia. We didn't live in the mountain. We didn't live on top of the mountain. We were in a small town at the foot of the mountains. And I could tell the stories about my family. There were all sorts of vocations from people in the room. And I was probably one of the most ordinary of the group. But I gained an audience from these people, and these people gave me confidence. And one of them was responsible for sending me to the Carnegie Center with my book. He said, you go there, they will help you self-publish your book. He insisted that I go. I did, and I did get help, and one of the young volunteers took over publishing my book for me, the first one, and I went to him 2 more times. So 3 books I have. You know, the first one is, I can't even remember the name of my own books. You look on YouTube and you'll find out where my 3 books are. And I hope you will order them. You can order them from Amazon. But what I wanted to tell you about this man, he was a quiet man, very pleasant, but he took an interest in me because I had written my own book. He wanted to help me. Now it was probably two years later, he died. I would visit with his wife. She was just 2 doors down the hall from me, and I'd stop once in a while and just talk to her. And one day, she handed me a book. It was a book about this size right here. Nice, thick, hardback book. Her husband had written that book. And it was a book about Cumberland Island in Georgia. Cumberland Island, I think, was about 10,000 acres of land. And the state wanted to take it over. It belonged to the Carnegie family, Andrew Carnegie. The man that had sent me to the Carnegie Center was a Carnegie descendant. I didn't know that he descended from a very famous man. I looked through his book. I have yet to read the whole book, but it's about his family. It's about them owning Cumberland Island, and they would not sell the island to the state of Georgia. It is an animal reserve now. The family still has a big, fine home on the island, and my neighbor goes down once or twice a year and spends a month there. She's told me a little bit about the island, but I learned most of what I know from my neighbor's book, an excellent book if you're interested in animal reserves and Cumberland Island. So I thought I'd pass that on to you as well and let you know he was actually responsible for sending me to the Carnegie Center to get my first book published. Wait till you hear this one. That was followed up by a second book, which was just a continuation, called Hold It, Lord, Hold It. I'm not finished yet. I wasn't through telling my stories. I did the second book, and the third book, which many of you are familiar with, was my cookbook, which I love the title because it takes me back to my childhood when I remember going into small cafes with my parents. And those cafes had what you called Make Mine the Blue Plate Special. That's what I called my cookbook. And I love that title because it brings back a few memories of how life was when people ordered a Blue Plate Special in a restaurant. You knew what it meant. Life was hard. Jobs were hard to come by, and people were hungry. A Blue Plate Special would cost you about 25 cents. It might be nothing but pinto beans, bean soup, cornbread, and a cup of coffee. But that was called the Blue Plate Special for the day. Someone peeking in the door at me now, probably curious as to what I'm doing, talking to myself. So that's my story. Anyway, I think that'll be enough for today. But I think, like that pretty tree behind me, you can see a reflection of the doors for the building itself. And I thought I might have a different background for you. And you could look at my bright orange shirt, which you can't miss. But the hair, see, that's the light shining on my head. I'm not bald-headed. Looks like it, doesn't it? We don't want to talk about that. I'm going to finish today, and guess what I'm getting ready to do? Going upstairs, I'm going to heat up my roasted vegetables, fix my salad with my blue cheese dressing, and that's going to be my dinner for tonight, which I always drink Dr. Pepper with it. Not very fancy, but it sure does suit my appetite. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and do keep in mind the problem people with plantar fasciitis have. That what I'm saying to you might be helpful, and I hope it is. I hope it helps you understand the problem. It won't last forever, but sometimes you think it will. So I'm going to leave you now. If I can get up off this couch. It's a nice couch. Got pretty pillows. See that pretty pillow behind me? Well, they do good decorating here. Thank you for watching.